The rifle cracked, sharp, close and sudden. Caleb's horse reared back hard, crying out as the sound echoed through the canyon. Dust swirled around Caleb Hart, the cowboy, as he grabbed for the reins. His boots scraped rock. Then, movement. A shadow fell forward from the ridge above. A figure tumbled down the slope. Caleb steadied the horse. The figure hit the dirt near the saddle. It was a woman, Apache, young. Her arm dripped blood. Caleb pulled her upright. Her face was gray. Her body sagged against the horse's side. She whispered something in her language, weak and slow. The horse groaned. Caleb looked down. Blood poured. From its side. The bullet hadn't hit the woman. It hit the horse. Caleb Hart touched the animal's neck. It shivered, breath fast, eyes wild. The wind kicked up. Canyon walls closed in. Caleb stepped back, hand moving to his shirt pocket. The silver locket came out. It swung open in his fingers. Inside, a photo. A boy. His brother. Dead 5 years now. Caleb closed the locket tight and looked up. The Apache woman clung to the saddle horn. Her eyes fluttered, barely open. Caleb knew the math. 1 horse, 2 lives. No way back if he gave it away. The woman coughed. Blood smeared her lips. He gripped the reins. The horse shifted, ready to run or fall. Easy now, Caleb whispered. His voice was steady but low. The woman's head dropped against the saddlebag. Caleb pressed his forehead to the horse's neck. I'm sorry, boy. He reached up, one hand under the woman's legs, one behind her back. With a grunt, he lifted her fully onto the saddle. The horse trembled. Dust spun under hooves. Caleb took one last look at the trail behind him. He would be walking now. He let go of the locket and stepped back. The horse moved forward, slow, staggering, carrying her. Caleb Hart walked beside them. He had no way home, unless he chose her over himself. Blood spilled down the horse's leg. Caleb. Hart, the cowboy, dropped to one knee beside the animal. The horse flinched. Caleb pulled off his red kerchief, folded it twice and pressed it hard against the wound. The cloth turned dark fast, blood soaked through in seconds. Caleb tied it tight and stood up. Kohana, the Apache woman lay slumped in the saddle. Her body leaned forward. Her hands hung loose at her sides. Caleb steadied her with one arm. The horse took a step, then another. Each step was shaky. The sun blazed down. Sweat rolled off Caleb's back. His boots sank deep in dust as he walked beside the horse. The trail curved between sharp rocks and dry shrubs. A gust of wind pushed grit into Caleb's eyes. He blinked it away and kept walking. Suddenly, a sound. Far off. Faint. A cry. Then. Another. War cries. Not just one voice, many. Echoing across the canyon. Caleb stopped. His hand went to his chest. He pulled out the silver locket. It clicked open. His brother's face stared back. Caleb held it tight. If I fall here, Caleb said, then let it mean something. Kohana stirred. She whispered something in Apache. Caleb didn't understand, but the sound of her voice gave him strength. Caleb, the cowboy, gripped the reins tighter and moved forward. The horse limped. Its wound still bled under the cloth. Caleb saw red drops falling in the dust. A hawk screamed. Above, its shadow passed over them. The cries came again and louder now. Caleb looked back, nothing visible. Just heat waves rising off the trail. But the sound was real. Caleb set his jaw. He would not run. There was no place to run. He kept moving. Dust rose behind him. The wind shifted. He could feel eyes watching from the rocks. But Caleb Hart didn't. Stop. Kohana leaned against the saddle horn. She was still breathing. That was enough. Caleb pressed the locket to his lips and tucked it back into his shirt. Each step forward was a choice, a sacrifice. He chose again. And again. The cries carried across the desert, and they were coming closer. Dark shapes moved along the ridge. Caleb Hart, the cowboy, froze mid-step. His eyes locked on the silhouettes, tall figures on horses, bows drawn. Still as stone. The canyonair held its breath. Caleb yanked the reins. The wounded horse stumbled. Caleb dragged the horse and the Apache woman off the trail. They dropped into a dry creek bed below. Loose rocks slid with them. Dust rose fast, choking the air. Caleb coughed into his sleeve. Kohana, the Apache woman, lay slumped in the saddle. Her face was pale. The horse trembled beneath her. Caleb crouched low. He reached for the revolver on his hip. 6 bullets, that's all. He knew they wouldn't be enough. Above comma. The shadows didn't move, a voice called out in Apache. Sharp, echoing. Then another answered. Caleb pressed his back to the canyon wall. His hand stayed tight on the grip. Kohana stirred. Something slipped. From her shirt, a necklace, a small bead. Carved and worn smooth, it rolled near Caleb's boot. Caleb picked it up. The bead was warm. His fingers curled around it. Then, silence. Caleb looked up, slow and careful. A single rider had stepped forward. A tall warrior on a spotted horse, bow still raised. But the arrow was not drawn. The warrior lifted one hand, not fast, not in anger, just held it in the air. Then the rider turned and vanished behind the ridge. The others followed. No arrows. No sound. Gone. Caleb blinked, unsure what he just saw. Why no attack? Why that signal? Caleb turned to Kohana. Her breathing was shallow, but steady. He placed the bead in her palm, closed her fingers around it. Yours, Caleb said. His voice cracked. The wind picked up. Shadows stretched longer across the rocks. Caleb Hart looked to the sky. Clouds moved in slow. The light dimmed. He pulled the reins again, leading the horse deeper into the wash. He didn't know if the warriors would return. He didn't know what the signal meant. But he knew this canyon was not empty. And the night wasn't finished. Why did they let him live? A flame flickered on the far ridge, then vanished. Caleb Hart, the cowboy, stood at the edge of a dry clearing. The sun was gone. The sky turned dark purple. The canyon behind him was silent. The Apache, woman Kohana, lay across the saddle. Her head rolled slightly. Her lips were cracked. Caleb looked around. Rocks, sand. Then, a shine between 2 stones. Water. Just a thread. Caleb knelt and cupped it in both hands. He walked it over, slow and careful. Kohana opened her eyes just a little. Caleb raised the water to her mouth. She drank in weak sips. Then she whispered a single word. Kohana. Her voice was faint. Her eyes closed again. Caleb repeated it under his breath. Kohana. He finally knew her name. Caleb checked the horse. The animal shifted weight, trembling. Its legs shook. Then, a sound, a long, sharp howl. Far, but close. Enough. Caleb turned fast, hand to his hip. He pulled the revolver. The howl came again, louder this time. A second answered it. From the black hills, eyes glinted, low to the ground. Moving fast. Wolves. Caleb stepped in front of Kohana. He raised the revolver and aimed toward the dark. The horse snorted, backing away. Caleb grabbed the reins and held tight. Another shadow darted past the rocks, then another. The horse staggered, its knees buckled. The horse fell. Kohana rolled sideways. Caleb caught her just in time, dragging her down with him behind a stone. The necklace around Kohana's neck bounced. The carved bead hit rock and spun. Caleb looked up. The fire on the far ridge still burned. Just one point of light in the dark. Behind him. Paws moved across gravel. Slow, steady. Caleb opened the revolver. 5 bullets left. He closed it with a snap and looked to the shadows. A growl came from the left. Caleb pressed Kohana against the stone. Stay low. She didn't answer. Her eyes were shut again. The wolves didn't charge. Not yet. They circled, waiting. Waiting for what? Caleb didn't ask. Caleb just listened. Listened to the night. The air was cold now. His locket swung out. From under his shirt, The silver caught the firelight. He tucked it back inside. Tight to his chest. One wolf stepped closer. Shoulders tense. Teeth bare. Caleb raised the revolver. The fire in the distance flickered once, as if watching. The howl split the night, and the horse buckled on its knees. The first wolf charged from the dark, fast and low. Caleb Hart, the cowboy, fired. The gunshot lit the stone wall behind them. The wolf yelped and vanished into shadow. Kahana, the Apache woman, lay against the rock. Her bead necklace swung with each breath. More wolves appeared. Eyes glowed red in the dark. Caleb stepped in front of Kahana. He raised the revolver again. The wolves circled slow. No growls now, only silence and pause on sand. Caleb fired a second shot. Missed. The bullet sparked off a rock. The horse kicked behind him. The wounded animal fought to stand. Another wolf lunged. Caleb spun and slammed the barrel into its side. The wolf twisted, teeth flashing. Caleb pulled the trigger again. Point blank. The shot echoed. The wolf fell. The smell of blood filled the air. Two more wolves darted in from the right. Caleb fired again, once, twice. Cartridges dropped hot into the sand. 4 empty shells now. Caleb's boots slid. He stumbled back. The horse kicked once more, strong, desperate. Then the legs gave out. The horse crashed to the ground, breathing hard. Kahana stirred. Her lips moved. A whisper. Then again, louder. Chant. Words in Apache. Rough, broken. Caleb turned. What are you saying? Kahana didn't stop. Her voice grew steady, stronger. The wolves paused. Ears up. One stepped back. Another turned. Caleb froze, watching. The wolves looked toward Kahana, not Caleb, not the gun. Kahana raised one arm, shaking. Her fingers touched the bead on her necklace. Then, stillness. The wolves backed away, slow. One by one they slipped into the shadows. Gone. The canyon held its breath again. Caleb lowered the revolver. His hand shook. He looked at Kahana. Her eyes were open now. Just a little. The fire on the ridge still burned in the distance. Caleb turned to the horse. The animal gave a soft grunt. Its chest moved, then stopped. Caleb dropped to his knees. He touched. The mane gently. The horse didn't move again. When the last echo faded, the horse lay still. Caleb Hart, the cowboy, stepped into the red light of dawn with Kahana in his arms. The desert stretched wide around them. The sand was soft and dry. His boots sank deep with every step. Kahana's head rested against Caleb's chest. Her body burned with fever. Her lips moved, but her voice was faint. Caleb looked down. You holding on? Kahana murmured something. In Apache, Caleb didn't understand. Then she repeated one word, Ayo ani nishni. Kahana lifted a shaking finger. She pointed to her chest, then to Caleb's. Thank you, she whispered. Caleb tried to say it back. Hi, oh. He stopped, shook his head and smiled. Kahana smiled too, barely. Her fingers reached for the necklace around her neck. The same bead necklace from before, smooth, carved, worn from years of touch. Kahana pulled it free and tied it around Caleb's wrist. The knot held tight. Caleb stared at it. You sure? Kahana closed her eyes and rested again. Caleb kept walking. The sun rose higher. Sweat soaked his back. His arms ached, but he didn't stop. They reached a rocky ridge by midday. Caleb laid Kahana under a patch of shade. Then, movement. In the far distance, a faint dust cloud curled into the sky. Caleb squinted. Not wind. Not a storm. Horses. Too many for a rescue. Not moving in a line. They fanned out, slow and wide. Caleb knew that pattern. That was not travel. That was tracking. They weren't following the trail. They were hunting it. Caleb crouched low behind a boulder. He pulled Kahana close. Her breathing was thin, but steady. The necklace bead tapped against his wrist. He pressed it flat with his hand. The riders were still far, but they moved with purpose. Caleb's eyes scanned the horizon. No help, no shelter, only dry rock and red. Hills. He sat with his back to the stone, cradling Kohana. His hand stayed on the bead. If they come, Caleb whispered, they come for both of us. He watched the dust cloud grow. They weren't following the trail, they were hunting it. The pony stepped from the dust, slow, steady, and silent. Caleb Hart, the cowboy, stood and pulled Kohana behind him. His hand hovered near the revolver, but he didn't draw. The rider was just a boy, no more than 10, brown hair tied back, a thin face. The boy wore no war paint, no weapon, just a satchel and quiet eyes. Caleb stared hard. The painted pony stopped 10 steps away. Neither moved. The boy reached into his satchel. Caleb tensed. The boy pulled out a single object and leaned down. He dropped it in the dirt between them, a feather. Black with a white tip. Caleb blinked. That was it. No words. No threats. The boy looked up. Their eyes met. Caleb opened his mouth to speak. The boy turned his pony and rode away, fast, straight into the heat shimmer. Gone. Caleb stepped forward. Dust rose with each bootfall. He knelt. The feather lay flat, still moving in the breeze. Its shaft was wrapped in rawhide. Tiny red lines were painted down the sides. Not decoration. A message. Caleb held it up to the light. The feather twitched in the wind like it was still alive. Kohana stirred behind him. Her voice came soft. He knows. Caleb turned. Kohana sat upright now, weak but alert. They saw, Kohana whispered. Caleb looked back at the trail the boy had come from. Still empty. Still quiet. Caleb slid the feather into his shirt, next to the silver locket. Proof tokens, both. His brother's photo. The feather. He looked down at the dust where it had fallen. The boy left no tracks. No voice. No threat. But something had changed. Someone saw what Caleb did. Someone chose not to strike. Caleb checked the horizon. The dust cloud from earlier had faded. The riders had stopped, or turned, or waited. Kohana rested again. Her hand touched the bead on Caleb's wrist. The sun rose higher. The heat returned. But the silence felt different now. Not safe. Not deadly. Just unknown. Caleb sat down beside her. He touched the feather in his shirt. He asked no questions. He gave no answers. He left no words. Only the feather. Caleb Hart reached the top of the ridge and stopped cold. Below him. In the shallow valley stood a wall of men. 300 Apache warriors. Still. Silent. Faces like stone. Each one wore war paint. Each one held a spear or a bow. No one spoke. Kohana stirred in Caleb's arms. She opened her eyes. Weak but clear. Her hand reached out and touched the bead necklace tied to Caleb's wrist. Family, Kohana whispered. Caleb's throat tightened. His boots shifted in the dirt. He looked down again. None of the warriors moved. Not one raised a weapon. Not one turned away. Caleb adjusted Kohana on his shoulder. He took one step forward. Then another. No reaction. Just silence. Then something shifted. Like wind moving through tall grass. The line of warriors began to part. Slow, purposeful, controlled. They stepped to the sides, 2 at a time. A narrow path formed through the center. It led toward a fire pit in the middle of the valley. Smoke curled from it, thin and white. Caleb didn't speak. He didn't have to. He walked. Boots on stone. One step, then the next. Each bootfall echoed. Every warrior watched. No blinking, no shifting. 300 sets of eyes followed Caleb, the cowboy, as he moved through their center. Kohana rested her hand against his chest. Her eyes scanned the crowd. She said nothing. At the edge of the fire, a few elders waited. They sat cross-legged, robes wrapped tight, heads bowed. Still common, no one spoke. Caleb's boots stopped just short of the fire ring. He stood tall. The bead on his wrist moved in the wind. The black and white feather in his shirt pressed tight against his chest. Kohana's breath slowed. Her hand still clung to the necklace. Caleb looked around. This was not a trap. This was something else. An invitation, a judgment. Or something older. He didn't know, but he knew this. They had seen him. They had seen what he chose. The sun burned high. The dust hung in the air. No one moved. No one needed to. No words. Just the sound of boots on stone, and 300 eyes watching. The fire burned low in the center of the ring. No flames, only glowing embers. Caleb Hart, the cowboy, stood still until a warrior motioned with one hand. Caleb stepped forward and knelt beside the fire. The circle around him closed. Warriors formed the outer edge. Elders sat inside. Silent. Kohana was carried gently by two women. One of them had long grey braids and lines deep across her face. She laid a wet cloth on Kohana's forehead. Caleb watched her, unsure if this was help or farewell. A tall elder stepped forward. His face was painted white from jaw to brow. In his hand he carried a carved staff wrapped with eagle feathers. He said nothing, just stopped in front of Caleb. Then, slowly, the elder reached toward Caleb's chest. Caleb didn't move. The elder opened Caleb's shirt and pulled out the silver locket. The same locket Caleb carried since his brother died. The elder opened it with care. He stared at the photo inside. His eyes narrowed. His breath caught. The elder turned to the others. He lifted the locket high. A few elders leaned in. One nodded. Another crossed his arms. Murmurs moved through the circle. Warriors shifted. The elder closed the locket and stepped forward. He placed it back in Caleb's hand but did not let go. He leaned in close. "Your brother," the elder said softly. "We knew him." Caleb's body stiffened. The photo inside the locket, a face from years ago, a Union scout. Vanished in these lands. But not forgotten. Caleb's hand closed around the locket. The elder stepped back and lowered the staff. Another man came forward and placed something on Caleb's shoulder. The black and white feather. The same one delivered by the boy. "You carry more than her," the elder said. Caleb looked at Kohana, then back at the men. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. No judgment fell. No sentence was passed. The fire crackled. The wind stirred the dust. This was not trial, it was recognition. Caleb had crossed a line, not into danger, but into memory. He had walked into something sacred. Something old. He looked down at the locket, the bead bracelet, the feather now, resting on his shoulder. Each one a proof. Each one accepted. The circle did not break. But the feeling changed. Caleb's breath came easier. The woman beside Kohana brushed dust from her cheek. The firelight danced on faces. Shadows stretched long. The old man whispered, "This one came home." The fire cracked once, sharp and clean. Young warrior stepped into the circle. Dust clung to his legs. His face was calm. He carried something in both hands. It was Caleb Hart's revolver. The steel gleamed in the firelight. The grip was wrapped fresh in smooth, dark hide. The warrior walked slow, each step steady. When he reached Caleb, he bowed his head and held the weapon out. Caleb took it gently. His fingers closed around the grip. Warm, oiled. The cowboy's voice stayed silent. Only his eyes said, "Thank you." The warrior stepped back. No words, no praise. Just honor. From the far side of the fire, another figure came forward. It was the elderly woman with the grey braids. She walked with care. In her palm, Kohana's necklace. The same bead strand Kohana had given to Caleb. The carved proof of trust. The woman knelt beside Kohana. Gently, she tied the necklace back. Around the girl's neck. Kohana stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. She saw the woman, then Caleb. She smiled, weak but real. Caleb looked down at the bracelet still tied to his wrist. Still there, still glowing faint red in the fire's light. The circle around them remained quiet. The elders did not speak. They waited. Then hooves. A rider came from the edge of the firelight. He led a horse. Not Caleb's old one. This stallion was taller, stronger, black as coal. Its mane shimmered like water. It moved like smoke. The reins were wrapped in red cloth, marked with black lines. The rider stopped the horse in front of Caleb, then stepped aside. The stallion stood still, watching Caleb, waiting. The white-faced elder raised his voice firm and clear. One horse was given, one is returned. Caleb stood slowly. His legs shook. He reached out and touched the stallion's neck. The muscle twitched under his palm. He didn't speak. He couldn't. Kahana sat up now. Her hand found Caleb's wrist. She squeezed gently. The bead bracelet shifted under her fingers. The cowboy looked at her, then at the stallion. Something inside him, something hard and old, loosened. The weight of what he gave was real. But what was returned? Caleb stepped beside the fire. The revolver rested in his holster again. The feather still pressed against his chest. The locket tucked close to his heart. Kahana leaned on him as the fire crackled low. No one clapped. No one shouted. But the message was clear. This was not the end. It was the beginning of something else. They did not kill him. They honored him. Morning light crept over the valley like a slow breath. The fire was down to ash. The air was still. Caleb Hart stood beside the black stallion. His hand rested on the saddle horn. His eyes scanned the circle one last time. Kahana walked with slow steps. Her legs shook. Caleb reached out and helped her climb up. She settled behind him, arms wrapping around his waist. The warriors stood in silence, same as before. But this time, as the stallion stepped forward, something changed. The warriors parted, again. But not just with silence. Heads lowered. Some pressed fists to hearts. Some closed their eyes as Caleb passed. No words were spoken. Just respect. Caleb kept his gaze forward. His hands gripped the reins, but his fingers moved. First to the locket at his chest. Then to the feather tucked inside his shirt. Then to the bead still tied to his wrist. Proofs of the path he had walked. Proofs of what he had lost and what he chose. The stallion walked smooth and strong. Its hooves struck stone with quiet rhythm. Kahana leaned into Caleb. Her fingers curled around his side. Her breath was steady now. As they cleared the fire circle, the wind picked up. Not hard. Just enough to lift dust and stir hair. Caleb didn't look back. He didn't need to. Then, from the left, soft hoofbeats. A small pony rode beside them. The boy. The same boy who had brought the feather. No war paint. No weapon, just quiet eyes and bare feet. The boy said nothing. He didn't look over. He simply rode beside Caleb and Kahana. Matching pace. Matching silence. Caleb gave the boy a slow nod. The boy didn't return it, but he didn't leave either. They rode together toward the ridge. Toward open sky. The dust behind them settled. The fire faded behind the hills. Each step forward felt like closing a heavy door. And opening another. Kahana reached around Caleb and touched the locket through his shirt. Her hand stayed there a moment. Then fell back to her side. The stallion climbed the last hill. At the top, the world stretched wide. Endless blue sky. No signs of battle. No signs of war. Just a trail. Waiting. The pony stopped. The boy stayed behind. Caleb looked down. The boy met his eyes. Still no words. Still no smile. But something was shared. Something understood. No one spoke. But something sacred passed between them. The canyon trail looked the same. Dry, cracked, endless. But to Caleb Hart, the cowboy, it was not the same place. This was where it all began. He stood alone at the edge of the bend, feet planted firm in the sand. Kohana watched from the black stallion a few steps behind. Caleb held a wooden stake in one hand, in the other. 3 small things, one by one, he pressed them into the post. First comma, the black and white feather. The shaft was still wrapped in rawhide. The red lines faded but visible. Second comma, the silver locket. Still holding his brother's photo, still cold to the touch. Last, the bead bracelet Kohana had tied to his wrist. It had glowed faint in firelight. It still did. He tied each piece with care, no rush, no words. Beside the post, Caleb lit a small fire. It snapped softly in the morning air. Kohana leaned forward on the stallion. Her hands rested on the saddle horn. Her eyes never left him. Then, thunder. Low, steady. Not from the sky. From below. Caleb turned. 300. Apache riders emerged from the canyon wall. They moved in silence, rows deep. No shouts, no drums. Each warrior passed in a line below the ridge. Not one broke formation. Not one looked away. Some held spears. Others rode with nothing but open hands. They rode in honor, in memory. In silence. Caleb stood straight. The fire warmed. His boots. The post stood beside him, tall and plain, but not empty. The proof tokens moved in the breeze. The feather shifted first, then the bead glinted. The locket swayed, clicking once against the wood. The wind rose. It lifted the feather. Slowly it turned it, and it pointed east. Caleb didn't speak. He looked down the trail. East. Where stories begin. Where paths open. Where some things are buried, and others rise. Kohana dismounted and walked to his side. Her hand slipped into Caleb's. She looked at the post, then at the road ahead. The wind passed between them. Warm. The kind that carries seeds, not smoke. The kind that brings life, not warning. Caleb took one step forward. Then another. Kohana followed. The bead still glowed faint on the post behind them. Somewhere in that firelight, a choice had been made. And now, it was time to carry it forward. If you believe honor lives beyond borders, and kindness travels farther than hate, share this story.